Please, Mr. Williams, come home now. She's going to destroy your twins. Rosa's voice trembled on the phone as she peered through the crack in the door. Jessica was in the children's room again, and this time she had that look that Rosa had learned to fear over the past 6 months. Rosa's hands, calloused from 15 years of cleaning the Beverly Hills mansion, clenched the cell phone tightly. Rosa, I'm in an important meeting. Jessica said the boys are fine, that you're overreacting again. David Williams' voice sounded impatient, distant, just as Rosa had expected. They're just throwing a tantrum because they're adjusting. On the other end of the line, Rosa heard male laughter and the clinking of glasses. Another one of his whiskey-fueled business meetings while at home. Tommy and Jake, his 7-year-old twins, were suffering at the hands of that woman he insisted on calling the family's salvation. Sir, please, just this once, believe me. Jessica locked Tommy in the dark closet because he spilled juice. Jake has been crying for an hour, and she said that if he doesn't stop, she'll. Rosa stopped, hearing footsteps approaching. Jessica appeared in the kitchen like an elegant shadow, her blonde hair perfectly styled even at 3 in the afternoon. Her blue eyes met Rosa's with a coldness that made the cleaning lady swallow her next words. Rosa, dear, who are you talking to? The tone was sweet as sugar, but Rosa knew the venom behind that voice. 3 months ago, when David Williams brought Jessica home for the first time, Rosa had sensed something strange. The woman smiled too much, talked too much about how much she loved children, hugged the twins with an intensity that didn't seem genuine. But Rosa was just the cleaning lady. Who would believe a 50-year-old black woman over a 35-year-old blonde lawyer? It was my daughter, Ms. Jessica. A family problem. Rosa hung up quickly, her hands shaking not from fear, but from a restrained anger that had been growing every day. Jessica smiled, that smile that didn't reach her eyes. That's good. You know how irritated David gets when employees use the phone for personal matters during work. She moved closer. I hope you didn't say anything inappropriate about our family. Rosa lowered her head, feigning submission. No, ma'am. I would never do that. Good. Now go clean the office. David will be home in 2 hours, and I want everything perfect. As Jessica climbed the stairs, Rosa remained motionless in the kitchen, her fists clenched. She had tried to talk to David dozens of times in recent months. She had shown him the strange bruises on the children's arms, talked about how the boys stopped playing whenever Jessica appeared, and even mentioned the changes in their behavior at school. But Jessica always had an explanation ready. The boys are restless, they get hurt playing. They're going through a period of adjustment. Rosa is being overprotective, it's not healthy for the children. And David, blinded by her charm and the promise of a perfect family after his wife's death, believed every word. At that moment, hearing a muffled scream coming from upstairs, Rosa made a decision that would change everything. She had spent 15 years being invisible in that house, treated like a piece of furniture, her concerns dismissed as the hysteria of a dramatic maid. But Rosa Johnson wasn't just a cleaning lady. She had raised 4 children on her own, faced discrimination at every job, survived situations that would break weaker people. And now, watching that woman destroy 2 innocent children while everyone pretended not to see, something inside her awakened. Something Jessica would never have imagined existed behind those tired eyes and that simple uniform. If you've ever witnessed injustices that seemed impossible to fight, you'll understand why Rosa decided that some battles are worth any risk. Subscribe to the channel to find out how an invisible cleaning lady was about to prove that those who underestimate the humble make the most costly mistake of their lives. 2 weeks after that desperate phone call, Rosa watched David Williams come home with yet another expensive gift for Jessica, a diamond necklace that cost more than Rosa earned in 2 years. He kissed his wife with that silly smile of a man in love, completely oblivious to the silent terror that gripped his own children. Honey, I got reservations at Le Bernardin for tomorrow. 2 weeks in advance, but my contacts made the magic happen. David handed the blue velvet box to Jessica, who feigned surprise with an Oscar-worthy performance. Honey, you've spoiled me too much. But tomorrow is Friday, I can't leave the boys alone with. Jessica paused, looking at Rosa as if she were a piece of broken furniture. With the help. Rosa continued folding the children's clothes, each piece smaller and looser than the month before. Tommy had lost so much weight that his school pants kept falling down. Jake had developed a stutter that only appeared when Jessica was around. But David was too busy admiring how radiant Jessica looked in the light of the diamonds. Rosa can stay late, it's no problem. She understands how important these intimate moments are for our marriage. Jessica smiled at Rosa, but her eyes contained a clear message: you're going to stay here and watch me destroy these children, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. That night, after David and Jessica left for dinner, Rosa found Tommy locked in the upstairs bathroom, sobbing quietly. The door was locked from the outside. "Tommy, sweetheart, what happened?" Rosa quickly unlocked the door. The boy threw himself into her arms, his face red and swollen. "She said that if I told Dad what she did to Jake, she would lock me in the dark basement all night." "Rosa, Jake is bleeding." Rosa's heart stopped. She ran to the twins' room and found Jake lying face down on the bed, his t-shirt lifted to reveal red marks on his back. Jessica had used a hairbrush. "She said boys who wet the bed need to learn to be real men," Jake whispered, turning his tear-swollen face to Rosa. "She said Dad would be disappointed if he knew I still do it sometimes." Rosa felt a rage she hadn't experienced since the days when she was raising her own children alone, facing racist neighbors and abusive bosses in Detroit. It was the same fury that had sustained her when she had to work 3 jobs to keep 4 children in school. The difference was that now she had experience, patience, and a deep understanding of how people like Jessica operated. For 15 years cleaning that house, Rosa had observed. She had seen how the white elite functioned, how they protected each other, how they discarded people like her. But she had also learned their patterns, their weaknesses, their blind spots. Jessica didn't know that Rosa had raised a son who became a lawyer, a daughter who worked in technology, and another son who was a police officer. Rosa Johnson wasn't just an invisible cleaning lady. She was a woman who understood systems, hierarchies, and most importantly, how to document evidence. The next morning, Rosa arrived at work with something different. Discreetly attached to the collar of her uniform was a small button that looked decorative, but was actually a micro-camera that her son Marcus had given her in case she needed to prove something unfair at work. Rosa smiled at the irony. Marcus had always known that one day she would need to protect herself from people like Jessica. David was in the office when Jessica came down for breakfast, already wearing that predatory look that Rosa had learned to recognize. The boys were sitting at the table, too small for their clothes, their eyes too big for their thin faces. "Good morning, my little angels," Jessica said in that sugary voice she used when she knew she could be heard. "Rosa has prepared a delicious breakfast for you." Rosa set the plates on the table, golden pancakes, fresh fruit, orange juice. Enough food for healthy, active children. Jessica waited for Rosa to leave the kitchen for a moment before leaning toward the boys. "You know the rules. Boys who pee in bed don't deserve a full breakfast. Tommy, you can have 1 pancake. Jake, just fruit." "But I didn't pee last night," Jake whispered, tears already starting. Jessica smiled coldly. "Are you lying to me? Liars don't get to eat anything." She removed the plate completely, leaving Jake staring at the empty table while Tommy ate his single pancake in silence. Rosa returned just in time to see Jessica stroking Tommy's hair like a loving mother. "My boys are so well behaved. David is lucky to have such a harmonious family now." But this time, Jessica didn't notice the small button on Rosa's collar recording every word, every gesture, every moment of calculated cruelty. Over the next week, Rosa collected hours of evidence. Jessica forcing Jake to stand in the corner for 2 hours because he had left a toy on the floor. Jessica telling Tommy that his dead mother was disappointed in him from heaven whenever he cried. Jessica serving full dinners to David and minimal portions to the children, explaining that they weren't very hungry anyway. Each video was carefully stored on Rosa's cell phone and sent to a secure email account Marcus had set up. Each file had a date, time, and detailed description. Rosa wasn't just a witness, she was building a case. On Friday, David came home early and found Jessica yelling at Jake because he had accidentally spilled water. "Jessica, he's just a child," David said, but without real conviction. Jessica immediately changed her tone, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm sorry, honey. It's just that sometimes they test me so much. I worry that I'm not being a good mother to them." David hugged her, whispering words of comfort while Jake remained in the corner where Jessica had put him, still wet, still trembling. Rosa watched from the kitchen door, the camera capturing everything. Jessica looked over David's shoulder and smiled directly at Rosa, a smile of absolute victory, of someone who knew she was untouchable. But what Jessica couldn't see behind Rosa's tired eyes was something that 15 years of silent humiliation had forged, a deadly patience and a deep understanding that arrogant people always make the same mistake. They underestimate the very people they should fear. That night, Rosa sat in her small apartment in Compton, her daughter Keisha's borrowed laptop open on the kitchen table. At 50, she was learning to navigate platforms she never imagined she would need. But when it comes to protecting children, a mother learns anything. "Mom, are you sure about this?" Marcus, her eldest son, watched the videos with a grim expression. As a civil rights lawyer, he had seen many cases of abuse, but seeing his own mother documenting such cruelty made him furious. This is solid evidence, but people like David Williams have the resources to bury any charges. Rosa adjusted her reading glasses, her fingers navigating the files with a determination that surprised even herself. "Son, I raised 4 children alone in this city. I survived racist bosses, neighbors who called the police every time you played in the yard, and supervisors who paid me half the salary of white women for the same work. I'm not going to let this woman destroy 2 children just because she has a degree on her wall." Keisha, who worked as a systems analyst at Google, was downloading forensic analysis software onto the computer. "Mom, these recordings are technically perfect. Clear audio, sharp video, metadata preserved. If we can get some more complementary evidence, this will be indisputable in any court." James, the police officer's son, finished reviewing Rosa's detailed notes. "The pattern of abuse is clearly documented. But Mom, you need to understand, Jessica will try to destroy you when this comes out. People like that don't give up. They attack." Rosa looked at her 4 children gathered around the table, Marcus in his lawyer's suit, Keisha with her colorful hair and tech expertise, James in his LAPD uniform, and Denise, the youngest, who worked as a social worker and understood childhood trauma deeply. "She may try to destroy me," Rosa replied calmly, "but I'm no longer that 20-year-old woman who arrived here with nothing. You are my masterpiece. Every diploma on the wall, every success you've achieved, is proof that people like Jessica always underestimate people like us." Over the next 2 weeks, Rosa executed her plan with surgical precision. She arrived at work every day with a micro camera activated, collecting evidence that would make any prosecutor salivate. Jessica, completely oblivious to what was being recorded, intensified her cruelty toward the boys. "Tommy, you spilled milk again. You obviously can't be as careful as normal children," Jessica said one Tuesday, forcing the 7-year-old to clean the floor with his own t-shirt while he cried silently. Rosa's camera captured every second, including the moment Jessica whispered in the boy's ear, "Your father is considering sending you to boarding school. Problem children like you only bring sadness to families." On Thursday, Rosa witnessed Jessica locking Jake in the dark closet for 2 hours because he had asked if he could call Grandma, David's mother, whom Jessica had systematically cut off from family life. "Boys who ask too many questions go to dark places until they learn to be quiet," Jessica said, ignoring Jake's panicked screams as he developed claustrophobia after months of this kind of discipline. Marcus had instructed Rosa on how to document not only the abuse, but also the broader context. She discreetly photographed the meager meals served to the children, the broken toys that Jessica destroyed as punishment, the obvious physical changes in the boys, weight loss, dark circles under their eyes, the hunched posture of those who live in constant fear. Keisha created an automatic backup system that sent all the evidence to multiple cloud accounts, ensuring that even if they discovered the operation, the evidence would be safe. "Mom, we're building a case that can't be denied, ignored, or bought," she said proudly. But it was Denise, with her background in social services, who made the most important connection. "Mom, did you know Jessica was fired from a previous job? I found records from a family in Manhattan who accused her of mistreating children 3 years ago. The case was hushed up, probably with money." Rosa felt her blood boil. Jessica wasn't just cruel, she was a systematic predator who targeted wealthy, widowed men, using vulnerable children as instruments of psychological control. Marcus began building the legal case. "Mom, let's go beyond a simple report to CPS. Let's expose a pattern of predatory behavior, demand a criminal investigation, and ensure she never comes near a child again." On Friday of the second week, David announced that he was leaving for a weekend of golf in Palm Springs with important clients. Jessica could barely hide her excitement. She would have 2 whole days to completely break the boys' spirits without interruption. "Rosa, you don't need to come in on Saturday," Jessica said with that fake smile. I'm going to take the opportunity to have some special quality time just with my boys. Rosa nodded submissively, but inside she was smiling. Jessica had just given her the perfect opportunity for the final phase of her plan. That night, Rosa called Dr. Patricia Wells, a pediatrician specializing in childhood trauma who Marcus had located through his contacts. Doctor, I know this is irregular, but I need you to examine 2 children on Saturday. I have evidence of systematic abuse and need a professional medical evaluation. Do you have legal authorization? Dr. Wells asked. I have something better, Rosa replied. I have 17 hours of video proving that these children are being tortured by someone who should be protecting them. James used his contacts in the police to check Jessica's background more thoroughly. What he discovered confirmed his suspicions. 3 different families in 3 different states, always the same pattern. A charming woman approaches a wealthy widower with children, marries him quickly, and within months the children develop behavioral problems that she uses to gain more control. She's a professional sociopath, James concluded. And our mother is about to end her career once and for all. On Friday night, when David left for his trip, Rosa made a call that would change everything. Dr. Wells? This is Rosa Johnson. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., come to 1247 Maple Street in Beverly Hills. Bring equipment for a complete examination and legal medical documentation. And doctor, prepare to see things that will break your heart, but that will finally give a voice to 2 children who have been silenced for months. What Jessica didn't know was that this would be her last night sleeping peacefully, believing she was untouchable. Because sometimes, when the system fails to protect the innocent, a mother who raised 4 children on her own decides it's time to show how true justice works. Saturday, 10:15 a.m. Dr. Patricia Wells parked her Range Rover at the entrance to the Beverly Hills mansion, observing the imposing facade that hid horrors she could not yet imagine. Rosa was waiting for her at the back door, her face tense but determined. Doctor, thank you for coming. The children are in their room. Jessica doesn't know you're here. Rosa guided the pediatrician up the service stairs, avoiding the main entrance where Jessica was likely to be. But what they found in the second-floor hallway made Dr. Wells stop abruptly. Muffled screams came from the twins' room, followed by Jessica's angry voice. You're useless. 2 pests that nobody wants. Rosa discreetly activated the real-time recording on her cell phone. Marcus had set up a system that broadcast directly to the Williams family's social media accounts. What was about to happen would be seen by hundreds of people in real time. Dr. Wells pushed open the door, and the scene she witnessed left her speechless. Tommy was kneeling in the corner, his face red from crying, while Jessica held Jake by the hair, forcing him to look at photos of their dead mother. Look at her. Your mother died because she was disgusted with you. That's why she crashed the car. She wanted to get away from horrible children like you. Jessica screamed, completely out of control, unaware that she had an audience. Let that child go now. Dr. Wells burst into the room, her commanding voice echoing off the walls. Jessica spun around like a cornered beast, still holding Jake. Who are you? How dare you come into my house? I'm Dr. Patricia Wells, a pediatrician specializing in childhood trauma, and you, ma'am, are being filmed abusing minors. Dr. Wells pointed to Rosa's cell phone, which was broadcasting everything live. That's when Jessica noticed the little red light flashing. Her eyes widened in pure panic. You. She dropped Jake and lunged at Rosa like a fury. You disgusting woman. You shitty little maid. I'm going to destroy your life. Rosa stood still, letting the cameras capture every venomous word. Keep talking, Jessica. The whole world is watching. The whole world. Jessica looked at the phone again, reality finally sinking into her brain. The live stream already had 847 views and was climbing rapidly. Dr. Wells was already examining the children, documenting every mark, every sign of malnutrition, every evidence of psychological abuse. Rosa, call emergency services. These children need immediate medical attention. But Jessica wasn't done with her meltdown. You don't know who I am. I have connections, I have money. I'm going to sue you for trespassing, slander, defamation. How are you going to sue someone from jail? Rosa asked calmly, showing her phone screen. 1,247 people watching live. Keisha shared it on her law firm's social media, on LinkedIn, on David's personal Facebook. Your coworkers are watching you right now. The blood drained from Jessica's face. She lunged for the phone, trying to turn it off, but Rosa had already sent backups to multiple accounts. Too late, honey. You wanted to be seen? Now the whole world is seeing who you really are. At that exact moment, Rosa's phone rang. It was David, his voice panicked. Rosa. My friend John called me saying there's a video of Jessica circulating online. What's going on? Rosa put the phone on speaker so everyone could hear. Mr. Williams, I suggest you come home immediately. Dr. Wells is examining Tommy and Jake. They are malnourished, traumatized, and show clear signs of physical and psychological abuse. Lies. Jessica yelled into the phone. David, don't believe them. It's a conspiracy. But David had hung up. 20 minutes later, his BMW skidded into the driveway. He ran up the stairs 3 at a time, bursting into the bedroom to find Dr. Wells still examining his children. My God, David whispered, seeing Tommy and Jake's true condition for the first time in months. The boys looked like war refugees, thin, frightened, cowering every time Jessica moved. David, thank God you're here. Those women broke into our house, they're lying about me, they manipulated the children. Jessica rushed to hug him, but he pushed her away. I saw the video, Jessica. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Lawyers from my office, clients, even my mother in Florida saw you abusing my children live. Dr. Wells stood up, his hands still shaking with indignation. Mr. Williams, these children show classic signs of prolonged abuse. Severe weight loss, healed pinch marks, obvious psychological trauma. Rosa showed me over 15 hours of video evidence. 15 hours? David looked at Rosa, finally understanding the magnitude of what he had ignored. Rosa nodded. Since that first call you ignored. I documented every abuse, every cruelty, every moment your children silently begged for help. Jessica realized she had lost. Her mask had fallen completely, broadcast live to thousands of people. Her law firm had probably already seen the images. Her clients. Her high society friends. You destroyed my life, she yelled, her voice breaking. I was respected. I had a career. A reputation. And my children had a right to a childhood free of terror, David replied, his voice icy. Rosa, call the police. I want Jessica arrested for child abuse now. As the sirens approached the mansion, Jessica made one last desperate attempt to maintain some control. David, you can't do this to me. We're married. Think of your reputation. My reputation? David laughed bitterly. My reputation now is that of a father who almost lost his children because he chose to believe a sociopath over a woman who has spent 15 years protecting my family. The police entered, led by James, Rosa's son. The irony was not lost on anyone, Jessica being arrested by the son of the woman she had tried to silence. Jessica Barnes, you are under arrest for child abuse, neglect, and cruelty to minors, James announced, handcuffs glinting in the sunlight streaming through the window. As she was led through the halls of the mansion she once considered her kingdom, Jessica saw Rosa in the kitchen, serving Tommy and Jake a nutritious snack, the first full meal they had eaten in weeks. Rosa looked at her one last time, without anger, without triumph, just with the quiet dignity of someone who always knew the truth would prevail. Outside, reporters were already gathering. The video had gone viral with #JessicaBarnesAbuse trending on Twitter. Her law firm issued a statement distancing itself from her. Clients canceled contracts. Friends blocked her numbers. In less than 4 hours, Jessica Barnes went from being a respected lawyer among the Beverly Hills elite to the public face of domestic child abuse. And all because she underestimated a cleaning lady she considered invisible, but who in fact saw everything, documented everything, and knew exactly how to use Jessica's own arrogance against her. 6 months later, Rosa was sitting in the living room of the same mansion, but now as the official house manager, with triple the salary and full benefits. David had insisted on the promotion after realizing she was the only person who had truly protected his family when he failed. Tommy and Jake ran through the garden, their laughter echoing through the house for the first time in almost a year. The weight had returned to their faces, the nightmares had subsided, and they were finally just kids again. Jessica Barnes was serving a 2-year sentence for child abuse. Her license to practice law had been permanently revoked. The viral video had destroyed not only her career but any chance of rebuilding her reputation. She now lived in a modest apartment, working as a call center attendant, completely isolated from the world she once dominated. Dr. Wells visited regularly, impressed by the children's recovery. "Rosa, you saved 2 lives. Your courage changed their destiny." David learned to value those who really mattered. "You were always family, Rosa. Forgive my blindness." Marcus, now representing other families in similar cases, smiled proudly at the mother who taught him that justice is not a privilege of social class. In Rosa's drawer framed was a photo of the twins smiling, proof that sometimes the most insignificant person in the room is exactly the one who will rewrite the whole story. True revenge is not destroying those who harm you, but protecting those you love and proving that dignity cannot be sold or intimidated. If this story of courage has touched you, subscribe to the channel for more stories that prove that those who fight for justice are never truly alone.